All right. Hello, everyone. We are going live with Jennifer Perez. We had a little bit of technical difficulties. Sorry about that. But we are here with Moms Out Marketing and Profit Strategist Jennifer Perez. We are talking about mastering your profit. And I want you to meet our mom speaker for February. Some of you may have met her at our speed networking, which I'm so glad you did. But it's more important to even find out about her journey and how she developed into a profit strategist. As a business owner, we can get tied up into the everyday tasks of social media, marketing, yes, bookkeeping, but how much time are we putting into the bookkeeping and turning it into a profit? So we want you to stop right now, and I want you to subscribe if you're on YouTube, follow us up if you're on Facebook or on Instagram, because Moms Out Marketing is ready to bring you profit first here in February. So, Jennifer, I want to talk a little bit about your journey. And I know we did a little bit of a warm-up, pardon that. But I'm excited to know, as a child, did you ever think that you would be an entrepreneur?
Yes and no. Where I grew up, it was a really small town, technically you had so many towns put together. The place I lived in most had less than, I think it was like 200 something population. So, and not 200,000, like literally 200 something population. But you had all these little towns together to pull into one for like school purposes and whatnot. So everybody knew everybody. And in fact, if you were not part of one of two families, you didn't own, like the town was owned by one of those two families. So I didn't understand the concept, or even I didn't even know of the word entrepreneur, because to be an owner, to run a business, you had to be part of those families usually where I grew up. And so I just knew, like my senior year of high school, you had to say like what you want to be when you grow up. And I said I wanted to be CEO of a corporation, because I just knew I wanted the top and I wanted to run things. And I didn't really know what that was. To me, that's what I thought entrepreneurship was. And took that and kind of went off to college in Indiana. And that's where I kind of learned a little bit more about what a business owner is, what an entrepreneur is. It really broadened my thoughts on things to where I didn't know a lot, and it helped that I didn't know anybody in college. So I kind of just got to be myself and not worry about people remembering things from back in my early childhood, and just be me and figure out what I want to do and who I want to be. And took that experience, and as a really well-rounded person of several interests, it helped me be more self-taught on learning what exactly that entails. And it helped clarify that entrepreneurship is really what I wanted. Yes, I'm CEO of my own company. You could say that, but the entrepreneurship behind it is what I came to actually through college versus my earlier childhood years.
Yes, absolutely. And it's such a journey. And I like how you said you could be your true self, because it was like a clean slate in college. I know my college years, I really, really enjoyed, just that, the discovery that you have. And it was interesting because the other day I saw something, it was a question where they said, would you be, and I actually shared it on Moms Out Marketing, and it's talking about being more adventurous with your money, since we're talking about money and profit, when you're already an experienced business owner versus in the beginning. So I would love to talk more about that when we talk in our networking session, because I know for me, it was easier for me to be more adventurous in the beginning versus in the end. So I was wondering what everybody's take is on that. But a quick answer, what's your take on that?
It's how you were raised and what's around you. For me, nobody taught me about money, first of all. Therefore, self-taught, because I learned what not to do in several situations. Or I'd see how somebody has something I don't have, or is doing something I'd love to do, and I'm like, okay, how do I make that happen? Mm-hmm. And so that was part of it. The other thing I would say really quickly is that I didn't grow up with entrepreneurs in my life. So I'm first generation business owner, and really having to learn everything myself. surrounding myself with other like-minded entrepreneurs, but it's different if you grew up in that type of atmosphere and already knowing what to expect for the most part.
I think it's so true. And we talk a lot about mentorship in Moms Out Marketing and how important it is. And I have also voiced where, having a mentor makes such a difference. We talk about like whether you're in a sport, you have a coach, whether you're in a band, you have an instructor who's helping you through that and following your every step and making sure you advance. So wherever you are in life, that's why Moms Out Marketing is here to support you, whether you're in the early stages of business or the veteran business owner, as well as all stages of motherhood. We think that it's so important that we can collaborate and come together and create that supportive mentorship for each of the businesses, because we, as business owners, veteran business owners, realize how much it was needed and how much you can succeed so much faster. I always tell my daughter, like, you don't have to work harder, work smarter.
Yep.
So, which sometimes comes back at me with my daughter. What?
Kids do say the darndest things.
They know how to. They know how to work. But yes, definitely on the ticker. If you're joining on our live, please let us know what city you're from. We know we broadcast all around on both Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So be sure you're following us. And Jennifer, back to your journey. And always say enjoy the mom journey, because I truly believe that it's not just one thing that turns us to choose entrepreneurship, but it's a series of events, through our journey. Have you found, like, which part of your journey has been most significant to bringing to where you are today and to bringing you to your success today?
So for the longest time, I thought it was back in 2013 when I had filed bankruptcy. I mentioned earlier, nobody taught me about money or some of the basics of it maybe, but not to the extent you really needed to learn and know. So lots of student loan debt. I asked everybody you can think of, CPAs, bankers, financial advisors, attorneys, and that was really the only thing that I was just told, hey, make more money. Easier said than done. And I was not yet an entrepreneur. I was still working in corporate world. And I kind of took it upon myself to then learn about money afterwards, because I didn't want that to ever happen again. I was like, that was not fun. I want to not do that again. And that kind of helped start my journey and help me determine what my true passion is, and really helping people understand money. Now that started as personal, but when I grew in business, I'm like, okay, I want to understand money in business too, right? And that's kind of where my passion comes from. But recently, in the past couple of years, I found out that the core as to why I'm so driven and focused on the topic of money in the first place is that while I was in college, my dad, I moved a lot. I moved 34 times actually. And one of the houses that we moved in and out of were my grandparents' house up in Wisconsin. So that was the closest thing to a childhood home for me. And when my grandmother passed in high school, my grandfather owned the house. Well, he was getting older, living on Social Security. My dad took over the payments. And then, long story short, in 2007, he lost the house. And this was a house on 40 acres. It was, like I said, closest to my childhood home. And so recently I realized that because of the lack of financial knowledge that my dad had, and he knows I tell this story all the time, but that's really what drove me to want to learn more about money. And I just didn't know until that bankruptcy happened and something terrible happened to me personally. I didn't really have as much of a drive to learn about it, but I would take like personal finance classes in college and learning things here and there. But I think that was kind of that tipping point of, okay, I want to make sure that doesn't happen either, because I eventually wanted to grown a family of my own, and not sure I want 40 acres quite, but I didn't want that to happen either. So that's kind of the passion that I've created since then, is really what's helped me drive this through today.
Wow, that's quite a story. And I know that my first thinking was like, wow, how how much those struggles really molded you to feel the empathy for your clients, to understand so many different levels where, I mean, to file bankruptcy. Because I think for many entrepreneurs, it's very difficult to kind of look at the finances. I mean, it's a very personal matter. As a small business owner, I actually call my business my first baby, Designer Model Pros. So in saying that, it's like, okay, I'm sharing my baby with you, fix it, you know?
Yeah.
So have you felt any pushback from entrepreneurs because of that? Or maybe just like, you know, closed doors when they know we need help, you know, we know we need to look at the profit. But when I shared on Moms Out Marketing, how many times do you look at your business? And I've looked at, you know, your accounts, meaning, you know, in your bank accounts. There was a range of answers. And I know for me, it was like, not enough. How do you push past that?
So for one, you're right. There's a lot of empathy there because I've probably been there before. But it's also, my background is in bookkeeping, so I understand the numbers aspect, but not everybody understands how to read those financial statements. And we do what we call bank balance accounting. We go to our bank accounts to check and make decisions based off of that. So, and Profit First is a tool, a method that's used so that you continue with that same behavior you have, because not everybody can still grasp reading a P&L, a profit and loss statement, and even taking that information and making decisions. And so I wanted to kind of, I had a train of thought and I just lost it, but something that, because I'm in the financial world, when I first started telling people I filed bankruptcy, like I was embarrassed. I'm in the financial world. I should have never had to file bankruptcy. But it's actually as soon as I opened up and said, hey, I've been there too, and I'm telling you the exact story what happened, people feel like, oh, she can relate. I feel a little bit more comfortable talking with her. In fact, sometimes I will put it in this way. And since this is especially a group of moms out there and women, if you ever think back to your first gynecological exam, you probably have a lot of emotions. You're afraid, you're not sure what's going to happen, you're scared. No one tells you what's going on. You didn't know what to expect. And it's very similar to the finances of your business and personal life. And so, you know, they go in and they open up your books, right? So there's a lot of like correlation there, but there's a lot of emotion behind it. And I try to have fun with things, but yet be very patient and kind of have that open door to where people can come and talk with me. And even if I can't relate, I can probably envision what that would be like, just because it's probably close to what I have done or dealt with. So it's been, just from what others have told me, I'm very easy to talk to and open up to, when, you know, not everybody gets to see what's behind closed doors.
Absolutely. You know, you're so right. Opening the books, right?
Yep.
We've got to open our books and be vulnerable, but obviously
Yep.
in a safe setting. And thank you for providing that. And that's why we do our online networking, so we can ask these questions. So I'm going to go ahead and share at the bottom. You see our February business topic is maximizing your profit. If you're just now joining us, please introduce yourself in the comments. We're going to talk in depth about creating that profit, maximizing your profit, giving you what you deserve. And that's on the February 7th, the first and third Wednesday at 9:30. It's online. So show up, whether you're in your brick and mortar business or you're at home or you're on the road. We want to hear from you. We want you to learn. You need to be vulnerable. Remember, getting out of your comfort zone is when you grow. Something that has helped me grow is, I know a great resource that you have a certification in. So I'm going to share our February business book, and it is Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. I'll tell you, I was introduced to this book about 4 years ago, and actually have some YouTube videos for recaps, because I know not everybody can just grab a book and read it. But if you can, I'd love it. Grab the Audible. Watch our YouTube recaps. I take them like a few chapters at a time, so you get the highlights. But this is a wonderful book that really, it's transforming your business from cash eating monster. Goodness. Is anyone else seeing with the price? I mean, the price raising for eggs. Like, so think about everything in your business that's raising as far as the costs, but to a money making machine. So grab this book, Mike Michalowicz. If enough people are wanting to buy it, I can buy it in bulk. But even more so, you have to attend our events so you can get these nuggets from Jennifer Perez. So Jennifer, tell us a little bit about the book.
Sure. So I am, to be honest, a slow reader. And when I had the question in my business of, well, how much should I be paying myself, right? I've been through the bankruptcy. I want to make sure business finances are good too. I've heard of paying yourself first. What exactly should that number be? And everybody told me to read this book. And so when I was like, I have all these books to read. Can't you just give me a formula, something? And nobody would. So I picked up the book. Actually, I rented it from the library, and I was on a road trip. I read it in 2 days. I implemented it right away. So not only being a slow reader, but I usually don't finish a lot of books because I lose interest very quickly. And when I saw what it did for my business, I was like, holy cow. After a few months, I had the question of how much to pay myself. I was driving profit intentionally, which of course, when you have a profitable business, Uncle Sam wants to get paid too. So I was saving for taxes. And then I had a deeper awareness of the expenses. And I thought, this is so cool. What if I could help my clients do it? And that's kind of my story with it. But I will tell people, when you read the book, when it says stop and do what it suggested, I do recommend actually stop and go do it. Because I didn't do that and thinking, oh, I know what I'm doing. And it kind of bit me in the butt, because after a few months, I was like, wait, I had to go back and make some corrections with it. But just when you read the book, it can be a lot. And I do recommend, though, keeping, when it says to pause, go take care of what it recommends. And then, of course, I'm here to help answer questions along the way as well.
Yes, and we do have tidbits on Moms Out Marketing and different prompts to help you engage you with the book as you're reading it. So we're kind of doing like an online book read with each other. And I love that Jennifer can just chime in and help us with that. I want to ask you, because I read the book and I'm a note taker, so it's, everything's written inside, but is there a workbook to go with it?
No, there's not.
Okay, so you're our workbook.
Basically, I have tools, whether it's spreadsheets or just a little worksheet, to go through some of it to help simplify things. But those are things that are part of what I get as being a certified PFP, Profit First Professional. Just by reading the book, they do have charts and things in there that help you kind of calculate some things and numbers. So when I had that question of how much I should pay myself, there's a chart in there that helped me determine that. But other than that, it's just the book. There's no additional worksheets or anything that goes along with it.
Okay, awesome. Well, speaking specifically on the book, why do you feel that business owners need to know about Profit First?
Because too many people, I've heard too many people come to me that they're making so much money, or it's been such a variety, whether they're making a lot of money and they want to be strategic with it. This is a great way to do that, or they're struggling and they don't really, because nobody taught them about money, and personal and business are different. There's some similarities, but even though you might be a master at budgeting and paying your bills and paying off debt, you can bring some of that into the business, but there's another whole look to it. And so this is something that is a behavioral based cash flow method. It's not, I got to go learn this whole new system, because again, we're doing bank balance accounting. We're already checking our bank account. So why not continue doing that, making it simpler and easier for you to make those financial decisions from day one? I've had people tell me, oh, well, when I start making a profit, I'll come see you. No, that's the word. Like, I'm not saying don't, but you need to get started now if that's the case, because, or if you're just thinking of starting a business, start on the right foot, implementing Profit First, so you're profitable from day one.
I think that's so true. There's I get to coach different business owners. So I see it all the way across. And a lot of times it's when someone's a beginning business owner, the first step really is to make those steps. But I also believe as you're doing that, you need to be educating yourselves. And that's why we like to bring these types of business topics into Moms Out Marketing. So if this was a new business owner, would you say profit first would be a good gift?
Absolutely.
For them, book?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So now what if it's maybe someone who doesn't own a business, but is thinking of owning a business?
It's still a good thing to read just because as you're thinking about your business, you can do, and honestly, it's been a while since I've read the book front to cover because I know so much beyond that.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to remember what's actually in the book versus the knowledge I've gotten outside of it. If you know what you need, for example, and we'll be covering this in one of the networking events, but if you know how much you need to pay yourself and you know on the personal side what you need or even want to pay the bills, you can bring that back into the business, do some reverse engineering. And while implementing profit first, making sure that everything is aligned with that. So you can determine what you want your revenue goals to be, how many sales you need to make that happen. What are your pricing based on that information? And so a lot of times with our clients, we start there. It depends, some people have different priorities than others, but a lot of times it's looking at, okay, well, what do you want? And you could be I have basically 3 different levels. You're in a need, a want, or a dream phase, because you either need money to pay the bills, you want some more money, because that would be cool to maybe add a couple extra things you want to do, or you have big dreams and high goals that you want to reach and you want to make that much. And so depending on where you're at along that journey, reverse engineering some of that to make that happen in your business, from whether you're at wherever you're at now versus I'm starting that out, creating what that plan is. And you can, from the beginning, already be driving profit intentionally, paying yourself what you need to be making. And honestly, even the pricing, which is, I think, beyond the book, but just having clarity around those numbers from the beginning versus waiting till 1, 2, 3 years down the road. Hey, I'm making sales. That's great, but I have no clue what's going on in my business. And so it's a really great way to start. I wish I knew this before I started my business. I would have been much further along sooner than when I first started it 4 years ago.
Exactly. Just going back to the whole mentorship, that's why we need this. I'm so glad to bring this into our group. And I was excited about the book. I always mention that I get excited about authors, like the way people think of movie stars.
Mike is a cool guy. We actually have a conference once a year called Profit Con for all the PFPs. And then we have like a barbecue at his house. And I mean, he talks to what you see. If you ever see videos of him or see him on stage, he's like that in person. Like, he doesn't put on a show. He just is really a good, caring guy, funny character. He's amazing.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. I love that.
Yeah.
So how did you, we talked about the profit first, and following the book, and then you as a great resource for it. But also just for you personally, let's talk about your everyday practices and your everyday successes that you do for both personally and within your business. Can you share some of that?
Yeah, sure. So obviously profit first is part of that. And it helps me have clarity around my own numbers, even though I'm going to be honest, as a bookkeeping background, yes, I understand financial statements, but I don't want to look at those all the time. And so when I just have to quickly look at my bank account and I can make a decision, it's so much easier and less stress. There's more clarity without the clutter, and not saying the statements are clutter, but to someone they might be.
I really like that. Stress less. So I'm going to go back to the question that we kind of talked about. How often do you look at your bank accounts? So for those people that looking at their bank accounts more often feels like stress, you're telling us it's going to actually help?
Absolutely. In fact, if you are looking at your bank account more, unless you're looking at it to make a decision on something, that's different. If you're looking at it to see, oh, where am I at? You really only want to be like, when you're implementing profit first, you only want to do it no more frequently than once a week. And I've had people that are moving money around every day just because I need to cover this or pay this or cover payroll or whatever that is. And you're all over the place. It's like
Mhm.
and I'm sure that's stressing you out. So if you are consistent and pick a day of the week or 2 days a month or
Exactly.
whatever that is, that helps a lot in I mean, it's not a question of how often should I look at my bank account, because for example, your income account. There's 5 core accounts, foundational accounts when you read the book. First one being income, where all your money goes into, all the sales, commissions, etc. You can look at that if you know what those numbers need to be. And let's say you're doing, you can see kind of where you're at, and it's like looking at your sales. So if your sales are supposed to be here and you're right here, well, you better figure out a way to make some more money. But if they're above that line, then great. Maybe you can take a day off. I'm not saying to do that, but it helps you make some other decisions based on just looking at that bank account briefly. But it's not always a bad thing to look at it. It's I would say a bad thing to be moving the money around more frequently, and you want to be consistent with whatever that is.
Got it. That's awesome. Thank you for
Yep.
that.
Yep.
What else do you do to just help through, like, even staying motivated on hard days?
Um, and I'm going to be honest, I've kind of heard another entrepreneur say this, and I wholeheartedly believe it. I think you're talking about every Tuesday. Um, like
Okay, live with it.
it really is. When you are an entrepreneur, a mompreneur, you wear a lot of hats. There's a lot of things going on in your personal life, in your business life, and you're like, you just want to pull your hair out. You don't know what to do, and you sometimes feel like giving up. And the first thing I will say is, do not quit. For me, everybody's different, but for me, it's surrounding myself with other like-minded entrepreneurs, because I'm a people person. That energy helps build me back up. It reminds me, or I get on the call with a client, or it just helps remind me as to why I'm doing what I do. I mean, I'm literally getting goosebumps as I'm saying this.
I love it.
So
Yes, it's
yes,
so true. We need each other. We really do. This community
yes.
has been godsend for me.
And it helps too to have systems in your business. So even outside of the financials, right? If you have automations in place that can save you time, ultimately that time can bring up in more money because you're able to do income producing activities. So profit first is kind of that core, but I go into a lot more beyond that, even sometimes business coaching in general, just because if it affects that bottom line, we're going to look at it. We're going to see what we can do to help seamlessly maximize the profit in your business, whether that's time management, looking at your people, looking at your expenses, looking at your pricing. There's so many factors that go into it, right? And so when you have an expert to help you in taking that emotion, right? We talked about how money is emotional. If you take that emotion out of it and put things into perspective, it kind of helps in making a clearer decision, in making sure that what you're doing is aligned with what your goals are.
I think that's great. The way you said it, remove the emotion. And I think a lot of people do have an emotional attachment to money. Anybody on the call or on the replay, let us know. Do you feel that way? Where, like, I mean, even when my husband and I talk about it, I'm like, why are we getting heated?
Yeah.
Like, so I think that can be a core for many relationships. I mean, I actually work with my husband, so it's interesting to see how we even our emotions are so different when we talk about our business finances versus our personal. It's like there's less emotions in our business than there are with our personal, and I don't know why, but so that's great to just hear that, because it's not just
Mm-hmm.
me. Yeah,
Exactly. We're all in this together. We might have similar goals and similar scenarios, but we all want to succeed in doing what we love doing.
yes, absolutely. And lastly, what's your favorite part of being a mompreneur?
So I'm kind of like you. In fact, this was my first baby. In fact, so my business has been around for almost 8 years, and my oldest that I personally had, because I have a blended family, so my oldest is 5. So I've had my business for 3 years before he even came along. And I felt really bad, because when he was, I think maybe 4 or 5 months old, I would be at my office working till 10 o'clock at night, but I loved doing what I was doing. And I felt so bad because I have like a newborn at home, and my husband's amazing at that, at taking care of our kids and just helping support me in my business. But I felt bad because I'm like, and I had to have someone tell me, well, your business is your baby too, right? And so my favorite part is that I can include my business with my kids as they get older. I also have 2 older stepchildren, and the 17-year-old now is like, hey, I've got some money I want to invest. How can I do that? I love that she asked me that question. And so just because knowing what it means to be a business owner and what it all takes, I think drives me even more. Of course, I love the flexibility and not having to answer to a boss. I get to do what I want to do. Um, and that was really hard coming from a corporate job. I was with the same owners for 9 years before I went full-time business owner, and they let me do, I mean, I didn't really have PTO because as long as the work got done, I would do it, right? There was so much flexibility with it, and I kind of got accustomed to that. So I going back to a 9 to 5 type of job, oh my God, it gives me like my chest starts tightening. I get anxiety just thinking about that. And so being able to not have that glass ceiling and break that glass ceiling and shoot for the stars, I love being able to do that so that I can provide for my kids. And if I need to take time off to go, they had like a trick-or-treating thing at daycare. Well, then I can go take the time and block that time off my calendar. I don't have to ask off. I don't have to not get paid because of it. And so the flexibility for me is huge so that I can do what I need to do to support my family. But at the same time, if I want to go on vacation, I can go on vacation. And if my kids need me, if they're sick, I can take care of them. Now I'm going to be honest, there are days when my husband has to take off of work. He works W-2 job. And just because maybe I had something like this, or I had a workshop I was hosting, and it's kind of hard to reschedule things like that, but he steps up to the plate. And so having that support system is super helpful. But my favorite part, I would say, is the flexibility in all areas of it.
I love that. And I love that you shared your mom when your son came to you and was like, help me, how do I invest this? And to be able to have those open conversations about money, because hopefully we're trying to shed the light that it's important for us to talk about money. And culturally, for some people, that's not something they grow up with. So I feel like even profit strategy, profit first, all of this is so important for us to even implement as a legacy, that we're passing on to our children and telling them, hey, you're worth it. You deserve profit.
Yep, exactly. And a lot of sometimes people, the whole taboo around money, I mean, if you really think about it, making money and having sex are very similar. You want it, you're expected to know what to do, right? You're not supposed to talk about it. There's all of these things. If you think about it, it's the same thing. I never
thought of it.
Yeah. And to be honest, I read that somewhere and I can't remember the book, but and I was like, that is so true that people, you hear about, I heard this quote once, people are more willing to talk about their sex life than money. And so
change this starting now, right? That's how we're going live.
Yeah. So it's just, being open and not judgmental when it comes to that conversation. Being able to, we didn't, and here's really maybe a TMI thing, but having open conversations about sexuality was open at the dinner table growing up for me. Money was not. And so, so there's a little difference there. It comes back to how I was raised, but now I made sure that money is an open topic at the dinner table, not only with my spouse, with my children, and any partners I might be working with, clients especially, just making sure that it's kind of that open feeling, but yet private and safe.
Right, absolutely. And I like that we talked about kind of like that private safety net, and for even our children, we can start with talking about the budget. I mean, grocery budget, helping them understand, okay, Yes, this is why you're not getting 10 different desserts, because we're going to utilize that for some fruits and vegetables. And then you can have that extra dessert if the budget allows. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I think there's so much that we can teach them. And that's why I love to involve the kids in these types of conversations. And let's change the stigma. We're changing the stigma about moms owning a business. Let's change the stigma and start talking about money at the dinner table.
Mhm.
All right. Well, this has been awesome. I cannot wait to see you on February 7th and February 21st. That's 9:30 to 11 a.m. They're two different topics, but both will add on to each other. I hope that you register. Let us know in the comments if you'd like the link so you can register for our Zoom. And I know you have some special offers for our particular group. Could you share those with us?
Yeah, sure. So coming up the week of February 26th will be our next round of our 90-day accelerator program. It's a small group coaching program, but in the 90 days, you're going to fully implement Profit First. You're going to walk away with a profit blueprint, which is a game plan for the next 6 quarters. And so, or 18 months, whatever that comes to. And so you have 3 months of access to me and making sure that you're doing things right. You're creating that plan. So even beyond the 90 days, you know what you're doing and can start doing that now. So anyone that registers through Moms, it starts the week of February 26th. You guys are going to get an extra one-on-one session with me during that program. And then if you maybe are like, I don't want to wait till then, let's get started now, or you more prefer a private type of setting, I'm also offering 10% off for any of our private coaching services.
Awesome. Sounds great. And then here is your contact information, masteringyourprofit.com. You can also follow her on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We've been doing more and more on LinkedIn. So we actually have our group there. So be sure you're following us because we'll be sharing more of our journey. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. I can't wait to learn even more from you and putting our profit first for our business and becoming permanently profitable. We'll be talking more about what that means at our networking events. So be sure you join us. And I want to say thank you to everyone on the live. Let us know if you're on the replay. We look forward to sharing the mom journey with you. Cheers.
Thank you.